just we need to do a better job closing out, and that's an offensive thing, defense, special teams, coaches, players, you name it. We got to come away and be at our best in those moments, and we were not, and that's the disappointing, frustrating part for me. But we'll keep grinding. We'll get back and get back to work.
Stefanski hasn't done a good enough job, and we talked about this last week, and we talked about it 2 weeks ago, and we talked about this is week 5, right? We talked about it 3 weeks ago, and 4 weeks ago, and 5 weeks ago. When Kevin Stefanski's been the Browns play caller, they can't score 20 points. They can't score 20 points. And we can argue it's the line's fault. It's the quarterback's fault. It's the receiver's fault. It's the running back's fault. They don't have the common denominator between it all is Kevin Stefanski. He's the only thing that hasn't changed in the entire equation.
Breaking news out of Cleveland. And this one hurts. The Browns have just suffered yet another heartbreaking loss, this time falling to the Minnesota Vikings. But trust me, Browns fans, this one feels different. It wasn't the usual story we've been telling week after week. This time it wasn't the quarterback. Dillon Gabriel actually stepped up. 2 incredible touchdowns, leading the Browns to a strong advantage early in the game. For a moment, it looked like Cleveland had finally found its rhythm. But somehow, that lead evaporated. The defense couldn't hold, and in those final moments, it all came crashing down. Once again, the Browns snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Now fans are asking the big question: what's going on with the coaching? Kevin Stefanski is under serious fire, with critics pointing to his questionable play calls and his failure to adjust when it mattered most. Is it the coaching? Is it the defense? Or maybe both? The frustration in Cleveland is palpable, and the noise from fans demanding change is only getting louder.
Fake to Judkins, Gabriel, Fadden, touchdown!
Unlike most of their recent heartbreaks, this game actually started with promise. The Browns came out firing, showing confidence and energy right from the opening snap. Dillon Gabriel set the tone early, connecting on his first touchdown of the day in the opening quarter to give Cleveland a much-needed lead. For a brief moment, everything seemed to be clicking. The offense was moving smoothly, the crowd was electric, and it felt like this might finally be the turning point for the Browns. But as the game went on, that early spark began to fade. The rhythm that once looked so sharp started to unravel, and Cleveland slowly lost its grip on the momentum. Still, in the third quarter, Gabriel wasn't ready to back down. He once again showcased his poise and accuracy, throwing a pinpoint pass to David Njoku for his second touchdown of the game. The play was picture-perfect: a clean route, a flawless throw, and a confident finish. At that moment, it felt like the Browns were in complete control and on their way to sealing the victory. But as we've seen far too many times before in Cleveland, what looked like a sure win soon turned into another painful collapse.
Down to the end zone, it is caught, Njoku!
However, that early dominance didn't last long, as everything started to unravel for Cleveland. The momentum that once fueled their confidence quickly slipped away. Dillon Gabriel, who looked sharp in the opening half, began to lose his rhythm, missing open receivers and struggling to keep drives alive. On the other side of the ball, the defense fell apart, unable to contain the Vikings' surging offense. What made matters worse was the sudden change in play calling. Many pointed fingers at Kevin Stefanski, whose decisions seemed to disrupt the team's flow and confidence. Instead of staying aggressive, the Browns appeared hesitant and out of sync, allowing Minnesota to seize full control of the game. By the time the Vikings marched down the field for the go-ahead touchdown, it was painfully clear that Cleveland had lost its grip. The composure, the momentum, and the energy that once defined their strong start were gone, replaced by confusion and frustration as another winnable game slipped through their fingers.
It's 2nd and 5. Addison, he's got it!
As the final whistle blew, the post-game discussion immediately turned heated. Analysts and commentators across the board didn't hesitate to point fingers, and most of them pointed directly at Kevin Stefanski. The general agreement was that this loss, like several before it, falls squarely on the head coach's shoulders. While some tried to spread the blame between the players, criticizing the receivers for dropped passes, the defense for collapsing, or even Gabriel for his late-game struggles, many insisted that the real issue lies in leadership. Stefanski is the one calling the shots, designing the plays, and setting the tone for how the Browns approach each game. Each defeat seems to follow the same frustrating pattern: And with every passing week, the same uncomfortable questions keep surfacing. Why does the offense lose its rhythm at crucial moments? Why are adjustments always a step too late? And most importantly, why hasn't Stefanski's play calling evolved when the results continue to disappoint?
Stefanski hasn't done a good enough job. And we talked about this last week. And we talked about it 2 weeks ago. And we talked about, this is week 5, right? We talked about it 3 weeks ago, and 4 weeks ago, and 5 weeks ago. When Kevin Stefanski's been the Browns play caller, they can't score 20 points.
In the aftermath of the loss, Kevin Stefanski faced reporters in the post-game press conference. But rather than giving a clear breakdown of what went wrong, he sidestepped the tough questions once again. Stefanski labeled the defeat as a team effort gone wrong, insisting that the mistakes were collective and that the group would learn and move forward. To many, it sounded like the same tired refrain, a polished way of shifting focus without actually accepting accountability. His comments felt like déjà vu for Browns fans who've heard these vague reassurances countless times before. Once again, Stefanski offered promises of improvement, but failed to confront the deeper issues that continue to plague his play calling and game management. It was the kind of press conference that left more questions than answers, as frustration continues to mount both inside and outside the organization. Let's take a listen to exactly what Stefanski had to say.
We need to do a better job closing out, and that's an offensive thing, defense, special teams, coaches, players, you name it. We got to come away and be at our best in those moments, and we were not. And that's the disappointing, frustrating part for me. But we'll keep grinding. We'll get back and get back to work.
Browns insider Darrell Butler didn't waste any time sharing his perspective, and he was brutally honest. He zeroed in on the fourth quarter as the clearest example of how the coaching staff completely mishandled the game's most critical moments. Butler didn't just question individual plays, he outright blamed the entire coaching unit for the collapse. While some analysts tried to defend Denzel Ward's coverage on that crucial third down, Butler argued that the real fault lay with Stefanski's poor play calling and lack of awareness in key situations. He emphasized that these breakdowns weren't isolated incidents, but part of a larger pattern of questionable decisions coming straight from the head coach. In Butler's view, there's no doubt about it. This loss, like several before, rests squarely on Stefanski's shoulders.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, that fourth quarter, Andy, in which the Browns picked up one first down. The entire quarter, just one. This one falls on Kevin Stefanski. I know you can blame Denzel Ward or Jim Schwartz for that defensive breakdown on the winning touchdown there, but
others also criticized Stefanski's decision to make Joe Flacco the backup quarterback instead of Shedeur Sanders. It became clear during the game that Dillon Gabriel was fatigued and struggling, and many felt that bringing in Shedeur could have injected some much-needed energy into the offense. Instead, Stefanski opted for Flacco, who had already proven to be one of the weakest options. That choice, many argued, only highlighted the coaching missteps that ultimately cost the Browns in the crucial moments of the game. Rex Ryan also joined the conversation, criticizing Stefanski for not having Shedeur Sanders available when Dillon Gabriel began to show signs of fatigue. Ryan believes Sanders could have made a significant impact on the game at that point. He even went as far as to question Stefanski's decision to have Joe Flacco as the backup instead of Sanders, arguing that it was a missed opportunity to have two young quarterbacks on the roster. According to Ryan, having Sanders ready to step in could have changed the course of the game when Gabriel was struggling. In the end, the Browns' latest defeat feels like a reflection of deeper issues that go far beyond one bad game. Dillon Gabriel showed flashes of potential, proving that he can make plays and lead the offense when given the chance. But even with his strong performance, the same old problems resurfaced. Mismanagement, lack of adjustments, and questionable decision-making from the sidelines. It's become a frustrating cycle for Cleveland fans who continue to see moments of brilliance undone by poor leadership and inconsistent execution. Kevin Stefanski's unwillingness to take full responsibility only adds fuel to the fire. The press conferences, the vague promises, and the repetitive talk of team effort no longer satisfy a fan base desperate for accountability. As insiders like Darrell Butler have pointed out, the Browns' issues are not about one missed throw or a single defensive lapse. They stem from a coach who seems unable to learn from past mistakes. If something doesn't change soon, Cleveland risks watching another season slip away. The question now is simple. How much longer will the organization tolerate mediocrity before making the tough decisions needed to finally move forward? What do you think, Browns fans? Is this loss truly on Kevin Stefanski, or are the players just not executing when it matters most? Do you believe Dillon Gabriel has shown enough to keep the starting job moving forward, or does Cleveland need a bigger shakeup on offense? And when it comes to the defense, is it a talent problem or purely a coaching issue? We want to hear your thoughts. Drop your opinions down in the comments and let us know who you think is really responsible for this heartbreaking loss.